A desperate mission. The Iconian spaceport buzzed with derisive laughter as Captain Jake Jones guided the ISS Prometheus into its docking bay. Sleek alien ships towered over the boxy human vessel like skyscrapers next to an outhouse. "Look at that primitive scrap heap," a gelatinous pant burbled to its companion. "The humans should stick to their caves." An insectoid Ravs clicked its mandibles in amusement. "I bet the primates get scared and run home before they even leave the station." Jake clenched his fists as the mocking words echoed in the Prometheus's cabin. These arrogant aliens knew nothing about human determination. Earth needed the resources waiting in the Glia 832 system. Precious metals to rebuild its cities, fertile soil to feed its billions. The alien council had refused to share the unclaimed bounty with the primitive newcomers, but Jake had a plan. Humanity would prove itself to the galaxy. He would get those star charts and claim Glia 832 for Earth, or die trying. Too many lives depended on this mission, and Jake refused to let his people down. He stepped out of the airlock and into the crowded thoroughfare, ignoring the judgmental alien stares. The dimly lit sign of Mogan's Bar flickered at the end of a trash-strewn alley. Jake took a deep breath of the stale, recycled air, then strode toward the seedy tavern. Somewhere inside lurked the only being who could help him secure humanity's future. Mogan's Bar reeked of stale alcohol and the body odor of a dozen alien species. Jake scanned the dimly lit establishment, searching for his contact. He spotted the Iconian lounging in a shadowy corner booth. Vortis, the alien's scaly hide glistening with a sickly sheen. Jake slid into the seat across from the reptilian figure. "I need a star chart for the Glia 832 system." Vortis flicked a forked tongue. "And why would I give it to you, human? I can offer advanced human manufacturing techniques, precision robotics, 3D printing, things that could revolutionize your factories." The Iconian scoffed. "Our technology is centuries ahead of your primitive tinkering." Jake clenched his fists under the table. He needed that star chart. Earth needed those resources. He glanced at the deck of cards on the table. Exian poker. A crazy idea formed. "I'll make you a deal," Jake said. "One hand of poker. I win, you give me the star chart. You win, I'll give you the schematics for Earth's most advanced fusion reactor." Vortis's eyes glittered with interest. "You would risk your planet's greatest technological achievement." "I don't plan on losing." The alien grinned, rows of needle teeth glinting. "Very well, human. I accept your challenge." Vortis dealt the iridescent cards. Jake studied his hand as they played in intense silence for several minutes, trading bets and cards. Finally, it was time to reveal their hands. "You are a fool, Terran," Vortis hissed as he laid down his cards. "The system you seek, my people discovered it decades ago, but we deemed it not worth the effort." "What? Why?" Jake asked, still clutching his cards. "It is located in the Maelstrom Expanse, a hellish region of space filled with radiation storms and gravity anomalies that can tear ships apart, not to mention hostile alien species that make your little poker game look like a child's bet." Jake smiled coldly and revealed his winning hand. "Looks like this child is getting what he wants." Vortis stared at the cards in shock before snarling in rage. "Your victory means nothing. You'll never survive the expanse." "Humans thrive in adversity," Jake said as he stood to leave. "Don't underestimate us." Vortis transferred the star chart data to Jake's wristcom with an angry jab of his clawed finger. Jake strode out of the bar, a triumphant smile on his face. But as the door hissed shut behind him, 3 hulking reptilians blocked his path in the alleyway. Zorian thugs. Knives and disruptor pistols glinted in their hands. "Hand over that star chart, Terran dog," the leader snarled. "The Glia system belongs to us." Jake dove behind a rusted trash bin as disruptor blasts scorched the air. He drew his own sidearm and returned fire. Alien curses and howls of pain echoed off the alley walls. Jake rolled and fired until his pistol clicked empty. Panting, he peered around the dented bin. The Zorian lay motionless in expanding pools of green ichor. Jake retrieved his spent power cells and reloaded them. The star chart was still secure in his wristcom, but now he understood the stakes at play. Dangerous factions were at every turn, and they would kill for a chance at the riches waiting in Glee 832. He hurried back to the Prometheus. He had what he came for, but the mission had only just begun. The stakes rise. Jake stared at the shimmering field that separated him from the precursor device. He could feel the weight of the galaxy on his shoulders. Earth had fallen, and the last remnants of humanity were on the run. But here, in this ancient tomb of a ship, lay the key to turning the tide. He knew the power this device could hold, enough to give humanity a fighting chance, or to end them all if it fell into the wrong hands. "Vortis, we need to figure this out," Jake said, his voice low and urgent. "We can't let the Zorians get their claws on this thing." Vortis nodded, his forked tongue flicking nervously. "I'm working on it, but this technology is ancient, even by our standards. It could take hours to decipher, and we don't have that kind of time." Jake looked around the cavernous chamber, his mind racing. The Zorians were battering down the airlock, and soon they'd be inside. He needed a plan, and fast. "Can you bypass it? Just enough to give us a shot at using the device?" Jake asked, desperation creeping into his voice. Vortis hesitated, then began rapidly typing on the alien console. "I can try, but it's risky. If I make a mistake, it could destroy the entire ship or worse, activate something we can't control." Jake clenched his fists. "Do it. We're out of options." The ship shuddered violently as another barrage from the Zorian soldiers struck the outer hull. The Prometheus was barely holding together, and the Zorians were relentless. Jake could hear the screech of metal as the airlock began to give way. "Hurry, Vortis," Jake urged, his eyes darting between the console and the sealed door. The Zorians would be through any second now. "I need more time." Vortis snapped, his scaled fingers flying across the alien controls. Time they didn't have. Jake turned to the crew members who had followed them into the precursor ship. They were battered, bruised, and exhausted, but their resolve was unshaken. "Prepare for a last stand," Jake ordered. "We hold the line here, no matter what." The crew nodded grimly, taking up positions around the chamber. They were outnumbered and outgunned, but they would fight to the last breath to protect what could be humanity's only hope. The door to the chamber buckled under the force of another hit, and then it blew inward with a deafening explosion. Zorian soldiers poured in, weapons blazing. Jake and his crew returned fire, but it was a losing battle. The Zorians advanced steadily, their armor deflecting most of the shots. Jake ducked behind a console, his heart pounding. This was it, the end. But just as he prepared to make a final desperate stand, Vortis let out a triumphant hiss. "I've got it. The field is down." Jake glanced at the precursor device. The shimmering barrier had vanished, revealing the machine in all its mysterious glory. "Get to it," Jake yelled over the din of battle. Vortis sprinted toward the device, but a plasma bolt struck him in the leg, sending him sprawling to the ground. Jake rushed to his side, firing wildly at the advancing Zorians. He grabbed Vortis under the arm and dragged him toward the device. "Can you activate it?" Jake shouted, his voice barely audible over the chaos. Vortis groaned, clutching his wounded leg. I think so, but I need you to cover me." Jake nodded, standing tall despite the overwhelming odds. He unleashed a barrage of fire at the Zorians, forcing them to take cover. For a brief moment, the onslaught halted. Vortis crawled to the device, his hand shaking as he worked the controls. The chamber filled with a low hum, and the machine began to pulse with energy. "It's activating," Vortis cried out, "but I have no idea what it will do." The Zorians realized what was happening and renewed their assault, desperate to stop the activation. But Jake and his crew held them off, buying Vortis the precious seconds he needed. Suddenly, the device emitted a blinding flash of light, and everything went still. The Zorians froze in place, their weapons raised but no longer firing. The entire ship seemed to vibrate with a strange energy. Jake looked around, his eyes wide with disbelief. What's happening? Vortis stared at the device, his face a mix of awe and terror. I think it's rewriting reality. The Zorian commander, Zilo, broke free of the device's influence and roared in anger. You fools, you've doomed us all. But it was too late. The precursor device had activated, and its power was beyond anything Jake or Vortis could have imagined. In the heart of the derelict ship, the future of the galaxy was being reshaped, and Jake Jones, a human pilot from a world on the brink of destruction, was at the center of it all. As the light from the device grew brighter, Jake could feel reality itself bending around him. He had only one thought as the world dissolved into white. What have I unleashed? Into the unknown. Jake awoke to silence. The blinding light had faded, replaced by a dim, eerie glow. He blinked, disoriented, trying to make sense of his surroundings. The chamber was still there, but everything felt different. The air was thick with tension, as if the very fabric of reality had been altered. Vortis? Jake called out, his voice echoing strangely in the vast chamber. I'm here, came the reply, weak but alive. Vortis was slumped against the precursor device, his scales dull and his breathing labored. What just happened? Jake shook his head, struggling to comprehend. I don't know, but whatever that device did, it's changed everything. The Zorian soldiers were gone, as if they had never existed. The ship, too, felt different, more intact, more alive. Jake could feel a subtle vibration beneath his feet, as if the entire vessel was humming with power. We need to figure out where we are, Jake said, helping Vortis to his feet, and what this ship can do. As they made their way through the corridors, it became clear that the precursor ship was far more advanced than anything they had ever encountered. The walls pulsed with an otherworldly energy, and the technology seemed to react to their presence, lighting up as they passed. We need to get back to the Prometheus, Vortis said, his voice filled with urgency. If we're still in the expanse, we're sitting ducks. Jake nodded, but as they reached the airlock, he realized something was wrong. The Prometheus was gone, replaced by a sleek alien vessel that hummed with the same energy as the precursor ship. What the? Jake whispered, staring in disbelief. This isn't the Prometheus. Vortis frowned, his eyes narrowing. No, it's not. But it's ours now, and it might just be the key to saving humanity. The awakening. Jake and Vortis stood before the alien vessel, its sleek lines and pulsating energy an eerie reminder of the precursor technology they had just unleashed. It looked nothing like the battered Prometheus, yet something about it felt familiar, as if it had been waiting for them. Do we board it? Jake asked, uncertain. Vortis nodded slowly, his gaze fixed on the ship. I believe we must. Whatever changes we triggered, this ship is now tied to our fate. If we're to understand what happened, we need to explore it. With a mixture of apprehension and determination, they approached the vessel. As they drew near, a hatch slid open silently, revealing a dimly lit interior. The atmosphere inside was charged, the air thick with potential. Jake led the way, his heart pounding in his chest. The corridors inside were smooth and seamless, unlike anything he had ever seen. Every surface seemed to hum with power, responding to their presence. This place feels alive, Jake murmured. Vortis agreed, his tone hushed. It's as if the ship is aware of us, adapting to our needs. As they ventured deeper into the ship, they came upon what could only be the bridge, a vast, open space dominated by a single console at the center. The walls were lined with displays that flickered to life as they entered, showing data in a language neither of them recognized. This must be the command center, Jake said, moving toward the console. He hesitated, then placed his hand on it. The surface was cool to the touch, yet it sent a jolt of energy through him. Instantly, the ship responded. The displays shifted, showing a star map that spanned the entire galaxy. It zoomed in on a specific region, one that Jake recognized as the area where Earth once stood. "Vortis, look at this," Jake said, his voice tight with emotion. "It's pointing us back to Earth." Vortis examined the map, his expression unreadable. "Or where Earth used to be. This ship is guiding us there. But why?" Jake stared at the map, a sense of urgency building within him. Maybe it's trying to show us something important. Before Vortis could respond, the ship shuddered, and the star map zoomed out, revealing a massive fleet heading toward their location. Jake's blood ran cold as he recognized the symbols on the ships. "Zorians," he breathed. "They found us." Vortis quickly analyzed the data. "It's not just any fleet. It's their main battle group. Thousands of ships, all converging on our position." Panic surged through Jake. "We need to move now." But the ship remained still, its engines silent. Jake frantically tapped the console, but it wouldn't respond. "Why isn't it working?" Jake shouted, slamming his fist against the controls. Vortis placed a hand on Jake's shoulder, calming him. "The ship is sentient, Jake. It's waiting for something. For you." Jake looked at Vortis, confused. "For me? What do you mean?" Vortis gestured to the console. "It's not just a machine. It's an extension of the precursor device, linked to you somehow. You need to connect with it, truly connect." Jake hesitated, then closed his eyes, placing both hands on the console. He focused, trying to clear his mind and open himself to the ship. He could feel it, an intelligence, ancient and vast, reaching out to him. The ship's energy pulsed, and suddenly Jake was flooded with visions. He saw Earth as it once was, a beacon of hope and life in the galaxy. He saw the Zorians' relentless assault, the destruction of entire planets, and the despair that followed. But he also saw something else. Humans standing defiantly against the odds, refusing to be extinguished. Then he saw a new vision. Earth restored. A world reborn, but different. Stronger. And at the center of it all, the precursor device, its power fully awakened. Jake's eyes snapped open, his heart racing. "I understand now. The ship isn't just a vessel. It's a weapon. A tool to reshape reality itself. We can use it to save Earth, to bring it back." Vortis looked at him, both hopeful and wary. But at what cost? This kind of power, it could destroy as easily as it could create. Jake nodded, the weight of the decision pressing down on him. "I know. But if we do nothing, the Zorians will wipe out the last of humanity. We have to try." The ship hummed in agreement, its engines roaring to life. The displays shifted, showing the Zorian fleet drawing closer. Jake took a deep breath and grasped the controls. "Let's do this." With a thought, the ship surged forward, faster than anything Jake had ever experienced. The stars blurred into streaks of light as they accelerated toward the heart of the Zorian fleet. "Hold on," Jake shouted as the ship hurtled toward the enemy armada. The Zorians opened fire, but the ship's energy field deflected their attacks effortlessly. Jake focused on the star map, locking onto the heart of the fleet. He could feel the ship responding to his thoughts, the precursor technology merging with his will. "Now," Jake commanded, and the ship unleashed a pulse of energy so powerful it rippled through space itself. The Zorian ships disintegrated, their atoms scattered across the void. The ship continued forward, unrelenting, as it plowed through the remnants of the fleet. The Zorians were no match for the power Jake wielded, and soon only debris remained. But Jake knew their fight was far from over. Earth awaited them, and with it, the final confrontation. "Vortis," Jake said, his voice resolute, "we're going home. And we're going to make things right." Vortis nodded, his eyes reflecting the same determination. for humanity. Together, they guided the ship toward the coordinates that would take them back to Earth, or what was left of it. The precursor device had given them a chance, and now it was up to them to seize it. As they entered the final stretch of their journey, Jake could feel the weight of what lay ahead. The fate of humanity was in their hands, and there was no turning back. The return. As the ship sped through the void, the tension inside grew palpable. Jake and Vortis sat in silence, each lost in their thoughts. The star map showed they were nearing their destination, what remained of Earth, a shattered world on the edge of oblivion. Jake's mind raced with the possibilities and the risks. They had in their hands the power to rewrite reality, to undo the destruction that the Zorians had wrought. But such power came with a heavy burden. One wrong move, and they could endanger everything they hoped to save. Vortis broke the silence. Jake, there's something you need to consider. If we use the precursor technology to restore Earth, we might not just bring back what we lost. We could alter history itself. Jake looked at him, understanding the gravity of what Vortis was saying. You mean we could change the past, create a different reality? Vortis nodded. Yes, and once we start, there's no telling what the consequences will be. We could bring Earth back, but it might not be the Earth we remember. We could even erase ourselves from existence. The enormity of the decision weighed heavily on Jake. He had come this far, driven by the hope of saving humanity, but now he was faced with the reality that this might not be a simple matter of turning back the clock. What do we do then? Jake asked, his voice tinged with doubt. If we don't act, humanity is doomed. But if we do, we could lose everything, including ourselves. Vortis gazed at the star map, deep in thought. There may be a way to do both. Restore Earth without altering the past too drastically. The precursor device has a failsafe, a way to guide the process carefully. But it requires a deep connection, an understanding of the balance between creation and destruction. Jake took a deep breath, the weight of the decision pressing down on him. So it's not just about power, it's about wisdom, knowing when to act and when to hold back. Exactly, Vortis said. And that's where you come in. The ship is linked to you, Jake. You can guide it, but you have to trust your instincts. The ship's systems began to shift, the displays showing the proximity of their destination. The remnants of Earth loomed before them, a barren, broken sphere suspended in the void. It was a haunting sight. Once a vibrant world teeming with life, now reduced to ruins. Jake felt a surge of emotion as he looked at the shattered planet. This was his home, the cradle of humanity, and it had been brought to the brink of annihilation. He clenched his fists, steeling himself for what was to come. Let's do it, Jake said, his voice steady. We'll restore Earth, but we'll do it right. No shortcuts, no reckless power plays. We bring it back as it was, and we do it with respect for everything that's happened. Vortis nodded, his expression one of approval. A wise choice. The ship will respond to your will. Focus on the goal, restoration, not domination. Jake placed his hands on the console, closing his eyes as he concentrated. He could feel the ship's energy flowing through him, the precursor device waiting for his command. Images flooded his mind, memories of Earth as it once was. He saw the towering cities, the lush forests, the vast oceans. He remembered the people, their hopes, their dreams. And he saw the Zorian attack, the devastation it brought, the lives it took. But Jake also saw something else, a future where Earth thrived once more, where humanity rebuilt from the ashes, stronger than ever before. He focused on that vision, on the possibility of a new beginning. Restore, Jake whispered, his voice filled with determination. The ship responded, its energy intensifying. A pulse of light emanated from the vessel, expanding outward until it enveloped the entire planet. The ruins of Earth began to shift, the broken landscapes reassembling themselves. The atmosphere thickened, the oceans filled, and the cities rose from the ground, their structures repairing as if time were reversing. Jake could feel the strain of the process, the delicate balance between creation and destruction. It was like walking a tightrope, every step fraught with danger. But he held firm, guiding the ship with unwavering resolve. The pulse of light continued, growing brighter as it reached the climax of the restoration. The scars of the Zorian attack faded, replaced by the vibrant beauty of a world reborn. Finally, the light began to recede, the process complete. The ship's systems quieted, and the displays showed a transformed Earth, whole again, but with subtle differences. The cities were the same, but the landscapes had shifted slightly, new features emerging where there had been none before. Jake opened his eyes, breathing heavily. He could hardly believe what he was seeing. A restored Earth, vibrant and alive. But he knew it wasn't exactly as it had been. This was a new Earth, a blend of past and present, shaped by the power of the precursor device. Vortis placed a hand on Jake's shoulder. "You did it, Jake. Earth is back." Jake nodded, still in awe of what they had accomplished. "But it's different. It's not the same Earth we left." Vortis smiled faintly. "That's the nature of change. The past can't be undone, but it can be rebuilt. This is a new beginning for humanity, a second chance." Jake looked at the planet below, a sense of hope filling him. "A second chance," he echoed, "and we'll make the most of it." As the ship descended toward the planet, Jake felt a sense of closure. They had faced impossible odds, wielded unimaginable power, and emerged victorious. But more than that, they had learned the value of restraint, of using power not to dominate, but to heal. And now, as they prepared to return to the surface, Jake knew that this was just the beginning. Humanity had a long road ahead, but they would walk it together, stronger and wiser than before. The ship touched down on the surface of the restored Earth, and as Jake and Vortis stepped out into the fresh air, they looked out at a world reborn. "Welcome home," Vortis said quietly. Jake smiled, feeling the weight of their journey lift from his shoulders. "Yeah," he replied, "welcome home." The new dawn. As Jake and Vortis stepped onto the surface of the restored Earth, they were greeted by the sight of a world that had been given a second chance. The air was fresh, carrying the scent of new growth. The sky was a brilliant blue, unmarred by the scars of the past. The cities they had known, now renewed, stood as silent witnesses to humanity's resilience. Jake's eyes scanned the landscape, taking in the changes. There were familiar landmarks, iconic buildings and vast parks, but also new elements, unexpected but harmonious with the old. It was a blend of history and innovation, a testament to the potential for rebirth even from destruction. The ground beneath their feet felt solid and alive. Jake could see signs of the world's recovery. Trees growing where there had once been rubble, rivers flowing freely, and communities slowly re-establishing themselves. It was as if Earth was not just returning to what it had been, but was evolving into something greater. The restoration had been a massive undertaking, but it was not just a physical transformation. The precursor technology had influenced more than the land and buildings. It had also left a mark on humanity's collective spirit. There was an aura of hope and determination in the air, a renewed belief in their ability to shape their destiny. Vortis looked around with a mixture of awe and satisfaction. "It's incredible. The balance we struck seems to have brought not just physical restoration, but also a sense of renewal." Jake nodded, his heart swelling with pride. "It's a new beginning for all of us, but we have to be careful. The power to restore can easily become the power to control. We need to guide humanity with wisdom and respect for what we've been given." Their arrival had not gone unnoticed. In the distance, a group of people was making their way toward them. They were part of the first wave of humanity to return to the surface, representatives of various communities who had been waiting for the chance to reclaim their world. Among them was a familiar face, Dr. Elena Rossetti, a scientist who had been instrumental in the early days of Earth's colonization efforts. Her eyes widened as she recognized Jake and Vortis. "Jake, Vortis," Elena called out, her voice filled with relief and joy. "You did it. You really did it." Jake and Vortis made their way toward Elena, their steps quickening as they approached. The reunion was heartfelt, with embraces and congratulations exchanged. Elena's team, which included engineers, medics, and other experts, began setting up a temporary base to assist with the transition and monitor the ongoing recovery. As they worked, Jake took a moment to reflect on their journey. The challenges they had faced, the choices they had made, and the sacrifices they had endured had all led to this moment, a chance to start anew. But with this opportunity came responsibility. The next few days were a whirlwind of activity. Teams from various nations and organizations began arriving, eager to help with the restoration and rebuilding efforts. They brought with them tools, supplies, and a renewed sense of purpose. The collaborative effort was a sight to behold, as people from all walks of life came together to rebuild what had been lost. Jake and Vortis played a crucial role in coordinating these efforts. They used their knowledge of the precursor technology to ensure that the restoration was sustainable and beneficial. They also worked closely with the new arrivals, helping to integrate their efforts with the ongoing recovery. One evening, as Jake stood overlooking a bustling construction site, he saw the first signs of a new era taking shape. The once barren landscape was now alive with activity. Buildings were rising, green spaces were expanding, and people were working side by side, driven by a shared vision of a better future. Vortis joined Jake, a thoughtful expression on his face. It's amazing to see how quickly things are coming together. It's like watching a dream unfold. Jake smiled, feeling a deep sense of fulfillment. It is, but it's important to remember that this is just the beginning. We've given humanity a second chance, but it's up to us to make sure we use it wisely. Vortis nodded. We've seen what can happen when power is misused, but we've also seen the strength and resilience of humanity. I believe we'll make the right choices. As the sun set on this new chapter of Earth's history, Jake and Vortis took a moment to enjoy the view. The sky was painted with hues of orange and pink, casting a warm glow over the rejuvenated world. It was a symbol of hope, a promise of a bright future. In the days that followed, Jake continued to work with the teams on the ground, helping to ensure that the restoration efforts were both effective and respectful of the natural world. The presence of the precursor technology remained a reminder of the delicate balance between creation and destruction. As Earth began to heal and thrive, Jake and Vortis knew their journey was far from over. There would be challenges ahead, both in managing the restored world and in guiding humanity toward a future of unity and progress. But they were ready to face those challenges, armed with the knowledge that even in the darkest times, hope and perseverance could lead to a brighter tomorrow. And so, as the new dawn broke over Earth, Jake and Vortis embraced their roles as guardians of this renewed world. They looked forward to the future with optimism, knowing that the legacy of their journey would shape not only the destiny of humanity, but also the very essence of the world they have fought so hard to restore. A new legacy. Months passed, and the efforts to rebuild Earth continued at a steady pace. The once barren landscapes were now vibrant with life, and the cities that had stood in ruins were being revitalized with new technologies and designs. The resilience and ingenuity of humanity were on full display as people worked together to create a world that honored both their past and their future. Jake and Vortis had settled into their new roles as leaders and advisors. Their expertise with the precursor technology was invaluable, guiding the integration of advanced systems while ensuring that the natural balance was maintained. They worked closely with global leaders, scientists, and engineers to shape the direction of the rebuilding efforts. One of the key initiatives was the establishment of a global council dedicated to overseeing the restoration and ensuring that future advancements were made with careful consideration of their impact. The council was composed of representatives from diverse fields, reflecting the collaborative spirit that had emerged in the wake of the Zorian conflict. Jake was invited to address the council, sharing his experiences and insights from the restoration process. The room was filled with attentive faces, each person eager to learn from the man who had played a pivotal role in bringing their world back from the brink. "Thank you for the opportunity to speak today," Jake began, his voice steady and confident. What we've accomplished together is nothing short of remarkable. We've faced incredible challenges and made difficult decisions, but we've emerged stronger and more united. He continued, as we move forward, it's essential that we remember the lessons we've learned. The power we wield, whether it's through technology or policy, carries great responsibility. We must use it wisely, always keeping in mind the balance between progress and preservation. The council members listened intently, their expressions reflecting the gravity of Jake's words. There was a shared understanding that the future of Earth depended on their collective wisdom and commitment. After the address, Jake and Vortis took part in discussions about the integration of new technologies and the development of sustainable practices. They emphasized the importance of transparency and collaboration, advocating for an approach that balanced innovation with respect for the environment. Meanwhile, Earth's restoration continued to inspire hope and optimism. Communities were rebuilding with a renewed sense of purpose, and the global atmosphere was one of shared ambition and determination. The scars of the past were healing, but the spirit of resilience and unity that had emerged was a testament to the strength of humanity. As Jake walked through one of the newly restored cities, he marveled at the transformation. The streets were alive with activity, the buildings were filled with people, and the air was filled with the sounds of a world that was thriving once more. He met with Elena and other key figures in the restoration effort, discussing ongoing projects and future plans. They were focused on creating a future that not only honored the past, but also embraced new possibilities. Elena smiled as she spoke to Jake. You know, it's amazing how much we've accomplished in such a short time. The world is changing for the better, and it's thanks to the hard work and dedication of everyone involved. Jake nodded, feeling a deep sense of pride. It is incredible. And it's a reminder that even in the face of adversity, we have the power to shape our destiny. We've been given a chance to create something new, and I believe we're making the most of it. As the days turned into months, Jake and Vortis continued their work, dedicated to ensuring that Earth remained a symbol of hope and resilience. They traveled to different regions, meeting with local leaders and communities, and sharing their knowledge to support ongoing efforts. Their legacy was not just in the restored world, but also in the values they had championed: unity, respect, and the careful stewardship of power. The new Earth was a testament to what could be achieved when people came together with a shared vision and a commitment to making a positive difference. In the quiet moments, as Jake gazed out at the horizon, he reflected on the journey that had brought them here. From the depths of despair to the heights of renewal, it had been a journey marked by courage, sacrifice, and hope. He knew that the future was filled with challenges and opportunities, but he was confident that humanity was ready to face them. The new Earth was a place of promise, a canvas for a future that would be shaped by the collective efforts of its people. And as the sun set on this new chapter, Jake and Vortis stood together, looking out at the world they had fought to restore. The future was bright, and the legacy they had created would inspire generations to come. The story of Earth's restoration was one of triumph and transformation, a reminder that even in the darkest of times, the light of hope could guide them toward a better tomorrow.